This episode comes with support from Twinmotion and Monograph's Section Cut Conference. You'll hear more about both of those later on in the show. All right. Well, I'm feeling a little jet laggy.
Are you?
Yeah.
What you been doing?
Jet setting.
Jet setting, living the life.
Living it up on an airplane with a face mask.
Awesome. I'm sure that was comfortable as hell after, what, a 5-hour flight?
Yeah. Yeah. It is, it was okay. It was just catching up on Ted Lasso. That made it worth it.
Of course.
Only time I get to watch TV is on an airplane. If I think ahead. If I plan ahead.
Yeah.
Which is rare.
Which was good because you were flying on a new day release, so you got a chance to see the new one.
Oh, yeah, but do you know how stressful it was to actually download that from airport Wi-Fi?
Oh, gosh.
It was like, It's not going to make it. It's not going to make it. Okay, forget it. Switch over to the hotspot.
Yeah.
Last minute decision. Switch to the hotspot. Get the one episode. Jeez.
The amazingly free 1 hour of your airport Wi-Fi is probably just strong enough to...
I think it's
not.
I think I got a third of the episode from them.
I've tried that too many times where I'm just like, you know what? Forget it.
Not worth it, right?
Not worth it.
Well, and
so if I don't plan ahead of time, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like
you
can actually. So not only am I dealing with like airport Wi-Fi as people are potentially freaking out that anybody would even do anything on there, but so my VPN is like going on through there just so that I don't reveal everything to the airport Wi-Fi.
Sure.
So then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna switch. I can trust that connection. I think I can. Anyway, I did get it. I ended up getting it, and it was worth it because it was a new day release,
totally.
And I am totally caught up because of on the flight on the way out. I watched like the season finale of last season, and I watched the first 2 episodes of the new season. Yeah, which is just a wonderful flight out when you can watch 3 episodes of Ted Lasso.
Yeah, totally agree. No, I just, in fact, when you texted me to start recording, I was catching up, watching it.
Oh, nice.
The latest episode.
Nice.
It's such a like refreshingly fun show.
Totally. Oh man, so good. And there's so many parallels to real life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, you have our endorsement, Ted Lasso, the Arcaspeed podcast. Yeah.
And you can be a sponsor if you like.
Right. Apple TV Plus, whatever, Apple Plus. So I got off an airplane in Dulles, and you picked me up.
Yep.
And I don't even remember what we did that first evening, but you took us to DC, to the hotel.
Took you to the hotel.
Had dinner.
We had caught a quick beer, had dinner. You and I got to drive around a little bit.
Yeah.
See some of the
monuments.
It's always, for anyone listening, it's always good to try to get out and see the monuments and museums and everything at night.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As depicted on your Instagram.
Oh yeah, couple shots for sure. I mean, and you're right. It is amazing. I mean, not only was the weather perfect. I mean, and at night it was
thankfully
very nice. I think the first day we got there, it was absolutely perfect, and then it went up by 10 degrees each consecutive day that we were there. And still, it didn't end up too badly because I'm used to 100 plus degrees here, but no humidity. So definitely feel a little bit of the humidity as soon as you got off the plane there, but not bad at all. There's nothing to complain about.
Until it becomes what it is today, which
is so I missed it.
Yeah, which is in the early 90s and equal humidity.
I like the early 90s. Good years.
Yeah, exactly.
Grunge movement. So So yeah, at night, like, and with the advances in
Oh my
low light
gosh.
photography that have happened
I
on cell phones, it's freaking incredible to actually capture those scenes.
I was more jealous at the ability of being able to do handheld,
Hmm.
low light, long exposure.
Right.
I mean,
I love it. The phone just
it
says
was
hold still, right? And you're
exactly,
like, I'll try.
exactly. You're just like, let me hold my breath.
So remember how you're like, oh, that
And
looks
shot
good.
stop.
And I was like, oh, it's noisy. It's a super noisy image, right? Would be totally expected on any camera that you're trying to do handheld, low light
Right.
photography with. And seriously, like, I didn't realize it, but later, I did one of those shots again and it was super noisy. And then after like half a second, it just updated the image and the noise was gone.
That's
It was incredible.
both amazing and annoying.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Because you have last year's model obsolete.
exactly. Well, I've got an iPhone 10, so
Couple
or
years,
X, whatever you want to call it, XS,
2 years old. Geez,
and so
obsolete
it's 2 years
technology.
old. So I mean, I might as well just take that thing out to pasture.
Basically 2.5 years old at this point.
Yeah, and if the um if the spy shots of the 13 are to be believed, yours is about to be outdated real
Is it?
fast too.
I haven't
Because,
looked.
well, again, if it's to be believed, the lenses are larger, so you
Of
can get a
course.
lot more light in it, and it's so the aperture looks like it's going to be pretty amazing. So
For that
it's
tiny
just
of a thing, it's incredible.
I was because I was looking at a picture that you had taken and a picture that I had taken of the Capitol dome, and mine was of course very like blurry-ish, a lot of noise, and yours was like perfectly crisp. It was like, all right, I'm putting my phone away now.
You're like, can you just airdrop me those?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the funny thing is like you're taking
Don't
pictures of
claim all
things.
of them.
You're taking pictures of things that have had their photo taken millions of
Yeah,
times, billions of times, probably.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, what's a new angle at this that maybe somebody hasn't seen? I'll try to do that, but and be a little creative with it, with the wide angle or something.
I
And
was actually quite impressed with the wide angle abilities of the camera because obviously mine just has the zoom in standard. Yours has zoom standard wide, and to see the wide angle capabilities of that thing where you're not having to like interchange lenses or things like
oh
that
yeah, right.
it was amazing. It
Well,
was
just
nice.
just like when I went to Falling Water, a couple months ago, and it was like I had my actual camera strapped around my neck and I was using it, and then I'm like, what am I doing, man? Like the smart HDR capabilities of this phone will.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a tripod. Number one, can't. They're not going to wait for me to do any kind of setup. Number two, number
Mhm.
three, it's just not as good for you're in this darkish room with a super bright background. You'll never get the bracketing that you need handheld quickly
Yeah.
to get this shot. Oh, let me just pull out my phone and tap the button once. Boom, done. Move on. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
exactly. Oh, totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah. So. I guess I'll include some images in the show notes for this because it was fun to just get out, and you're an amazing tour guide. So you know
Well, thank you.
everything about everything there, and you should probably think about switching careers at this point because you're
Well,
a great DC docent.
I have this desire after retirement to become a docent somewhere at some
Anywhere,
either
anywhere they'll take
amazing,
me.
yeah, some amazing. So he, there is a bit of seriousness to that
Yeah,
because
I get it.
um, one of the first. So when I went for one of my first times going to the Glenstone, in fact, actually the first time I went to the Glenstone was with a couple of architecture friends of mine, and we're walking around. Of course, we're like trying to crane our neck and try to like bend ourselves around, like trying to look at details of windows and how windows are connecting to the structure and all this other stuff. And this guy walks up to us and he's like, architects, right? And you're like, yeah, how can you tell? He's like, I just retired. I'm one of them too. He goes, and the way that you guys are trying to like look at details and stuff is exactly the way I used to.
It's obvious.
Yeah. He I can't remember which. It was one of the big large firms, worldwide firms.
One of them.
And he had just retired. And so I'd seen him there a couple of times, and every once in a great while when I saw him, I would wave to him and he'd be like, hey, you're back, kind of thing. And then I saw him at the National Building Museum, and he's a docent there too. I'm like, did you really retire?
It's like a waiter with multiple jobs.
Exactly.
Yes, I love it.
He's like, I can't get away from it. He goes, I don't have to do the day-to-day drawing and all that other stuff and meet with clients and stuff. He goes, but the passion for architecture never really left. So
he's doing a service for
totally
the profession. Like, that's awesome.
And it's amazing. Like, so he's at the Glenstone. He's there a couple days a week. I haven't seen him in a while, but I also haven't been back. I had tickets for somebody to go, but no, they were too busy. But next time.
Well, I would like to plan ahead more. That might be better.
Actually, I should have just asked you, hey, are you busy this day? And how late? But it was kind of, I just took a shot that, if by chance you guys weren't busy, then obviously we would have rolled out there and had a really nice experience. Because they just extended for their summer hours. They usually closed at 5:30 and now they close at 7. So I was like, oh, this is score. We'll get the late tickets. We'll go there, enjoy an evening there. But no.
But no.
But no.
Or as you say, but no.
Exactly. Somewhat thwarted.
Yeah, future visits. It's funny because it's even like New York City. There's still stuff I haven't seen. It's like, I'll check that off at a future visit. It's a good reason to go back.
Exactly.
But you do need to come to the West Coast now. Like I said, it's been. I think I'm 3 or 4 times in on the East Coast, and you've been there. But now you got to get back out this way. You got to start to even things out a little bit more.
I agree with you.
But you do have like an amazing concentration of architectural iconography out there. That's just you can like play this amazing docent game out there and hop from place to place and know a medium amount about a lot of different places and just blow minds with visitors.
It is pretty amazing what I have picked up from my travels and stuff. And since we were, really, really anxious to like learn as much as we could when we first got here, some of that stuff just stuck with us. So being able to like drive around and say, hey, here is one of like a few roads that were our national parks. And
oh yeah, that was crazy, right? You've got stretches of highway that are national parks. 2 of them, I think.
Yeah, 2 of them in our area.
In your area,
yeah. The Baltimore Washington Parkway that stretches obviously from. Take a wild guess.
I'm gonna guess those 2. From one to the other.
From one to the other, yeah. And then the GW Parkway, or the George Washington Memorial Parkway, which stretches from Maryland all the way to, essentially takes you right into Mount Vernon, which amazing. And so being able to like, link all of these things together, see all of like the new construction, the old construction, just everything, just, kind of amazing. And then just like all this weird little trivia that I've like picked up just because we were here living it, and it's just kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so,
incredible.
anytime someone comes, it's like, let me share my knowledge.
Well, and they're building new stuff and they're replacing things on parts on buildings, right? Like you said, they replaced all the limestone on Pay's building, and
right,
like it's his building. But you know what I mean? And now they're doing it to the Air and Space Museum, and they are building new monuments here and there. And like we went and visited the Eisenhower, which is a new addition, fairly new addition. And again, like at night, like I thought it was really, really cool to visit and walk around it. And there's just nobody around. So low impact. I don't have to wait for people to get out of my photos.
Exactly. Except for those statues.
They move slowly.
But what was great is just seeing, the character of them at night, takes on a completely different feel than during the day. And yeah, you're going to see like people enjoying the monuments and all that other stuff during the day. And you can kind of see how people interact with them. But then at night, when everyone goes away, and then just the character of the way it's lit, the way it's moonlit, the way the street, kind of interacts with it, especially that particular one is really kind of interesting.
I love the two faces of architecture with lighting components, right? Like I've always thought about this when doing my own projects. Lighting has always been crucial, especially exterior lighting. When you want to attract somebody to a location, it's like that's the way to do it. It's probably not the building itself. Maybe it is, but during the day, because that's all you can really rely on. But at night, you can accentuate things and highlight things and draw people and guide them with light. It's just an incredible design tool. And that was what was going on at the Eisenhower Memorial, right? It's like it's like you get to just isolate that geometry in the 3D modeling program because that's all you can see, because you can highlight it and make the background disappear, right? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what's going on with it. And it picks up the additional qualities of the materials that are used. So they're obviously using stone and the stainless steel mesh, and the way that it plays with the light is amazing. So it was really well done in that regard, where it's like the lighting design in particular on that monument was really cool. And during the day, you might see the light poles where they have these little spots, these little LED spots that are kind of out there, and they might kind of tarnish the landscape in one way or another. I mean, for the most part, they just disappear and people don't notice them. But at night, they're not there at all, right? And all you see is the effect of the light on the surface of the monument itself. And wow, it's really well done. And like, it really does at that point hide that ugly ass building that's right behind it, right? Which is why it was put there, right? I think that's what you said. It was like a screening. It's a screening device. I mean, that's not why it's there. It's a monument, and that's the place they decided to put it. But it does screen this pretty ugly building behind it.
Yeah, the Department of Education building is immediately behind it, and part of where the monument is now was a plaza in front of that, which actually also had a road that kind of cut through, and so it was just this weird disjointed spot. And it is definitely a vast improvement to that area, and it's starting to get some of the monuments like just off of the mall, and so like it's starting to spread out a little bit of that. Once you start to see and then how it's kind of like face to face with really it's the entrance side of the museum of the.
I don't know the full names of it, but you're talking about the Native American Museum.
Yeah, the Native American Museum. Thank you. And it actually kind of like bookends the small little plaza in the front of that one where that is. It's kind of interesting is that at the Native American Museum, what seems like an entrance off of the mall, where they've got kind of like this little plaza space, and it seems like it's the entrance, but it's not the entrance. It's actually the back side of the building, and then you have to when you're engaging the mall side of the museum, you're actually, all that is just a procession to go to the other side of the building, which is the street side, which is the actual entrance into the building. And the addition of the new memorial, the Eisenhower Memorial, kind of helps soften that whole area up a little bit more, because I mean, it is still a 6-lane wide boulevard that kind of cuts through. It's to the I'm trying to get my geography here, but basically it's to the one side of the Capitol building, kind of like separates the Capitol building from like the office buildings for the Capitol and everything else and stuff. But it's just this really, really wide street that was really just kind of harsh with just cars and all of that other stuff parked on it. And now that they've taken that element out and they've kind of greened it a little bit more, there's a little bit more softening to that edge, which hopefully more and more of those plazas up and down that particular street, which I'm blanking on the particular road name it is, really will help that side soften it up a little bit more. Because if you're talking like one block off of the mall, you've got Constitutional and all that other stuff. But then when you go one block off of that, you've got, so many other things that are still touristy enough for people to go and visit. But it's such a different feeling. One is very pedestrian, one is very vehicular. And, the vehicular side, obviously you feel a lot more unsafe than you do when you're on the more pedestrian side of things. And in the pedestrian side, still has car lanes and stuff, but they're smaller, they're slower, they've got lots of crosswalks, there's on-street parking, but it just like really tones down that feeling so you don't feel like you're having to like dodge traffic. Whereas one block outside of that is where, you've got much wider lanes, and you just feel like you're having to like avoid everything to just like be safe about this. And so
it's really
starting
interesting.
to
Yeah, because it's like kind of like in New York when you go to visit the High Line and it's completely pedestrian, right? It's like you're elevated above the main city streets. You feel totally safe and you can mosey at your own pace and you can hang out. And there's all these zones that are kind of designed to encourage that kind of behavior. Go out there on your lunch break. If you're working in the area, obviously tons of tourists and stuff taking a lot of photos, but it's greened up in a way that the city street down below just can't be. And so it's really successful in that way. It does seem like they're trying to do that, but on the surface level, they're not raising you up. They're not putting you below. Because I remember visiting in college, DC, and I obviously tons of walking because the scale is enormous, and you just had to go from dot to dot either by walking or, as a tourist, you're going to go down below into the subway, right? And that was cool too, but it's completely different landscape now. They've put a lot more pieces along the pathway for you to visit and check out so that it doesn't feel like this long slog of a walk, and it encourages a lot more walking. But there's also now the electric scooter thing, right? Which is actually really great for that kind of an environment. Like, I'm not talking about it from like a littering the landscape with scooter standpoint, but from a getting from point A to point B, kind of that last mile standpoint. Electric scooters and that micro mobility aspect of it makes it super accessible for people to see a lot more stuff and get a lot more satisfaction out of their visit, so that they don't just remember walking everywhere, right? Because you've got all that stuff along the way. You've got the Native American Museum, you've got the Capitol, you got the Eisenhower, you got the Smithsonian, you've got all these things kind of on that one side of the mall that you can just link dot to dot to dot, and makes it totally accessible now, either by walking and not feeling like you're walking so far at one time, or you could jump on a scooter, right? And there was tons of families out on scooters and scootering together from place to place and seeing a bunch of stuff when they don't have to worry about cars. So I think it has been a pretty successful transformation over the last 2 decades to turn it into what it is. This episode is made possible with support from Twinmotion. Now, you've probably heard of Zaha Hadid Architects. They're one of the world's best-known firms, and when it comes to innovation, they're big fans of pushing boundaries. The team at ZHA has started using Twinmotion, a simple, real-time ArcViz tool that lets you instantly visualize ideas and clearly communicate them to stakeholders. ZHA designer Marco Marghetta says that the benefits of using Twinmotion for the designers are the simplicity of the interface, the playfulness with which you can articulate your scenes, and not having to worry about all the technical aspects that real-time usually brings, like light maps, PBR workflows, and other technical details. Marco also loved Twinmotion Cloud, which lets any member of the team access a project from their web browser without a single download or installation. The project manager can access the model, review it, and immediately give you the feedback anytime from anywhere, says Marco. To download your exclusive free trial, head to twinmotion.link/Archispeak. Again, that's twinmotion.link/Archispeak. This episode is made possible with support from Monograph. Monograph is building a community of like-minded firm owners and operations leaders who are looking for solutions that align with their firm's values. On top of that, Monograph is building the only cloud-based practice operations software built exclusively for architects by architects. Monograph's easy-to-use and beautifully designed software allows you and your team to know in near real time whether you are on pace to deliver a project on budget. With Monograph, you and your team can plan project schedules, budgets, role assignments, and team members all in one place. The best part of Monograph? It doesn't require a degree in finance to use. To experience the difference today, sign up for a free trial at monograph.com. And to underscore their commitment to the community, on August 12th, Monograph will be hosting their first ever virtual conference. It's called Section Cut. This one-day event brings firm owners, operations leaders, and project leaders together to learn from success stories and workshops, all with a goal of improving their business. Reserve a seat at Section Cut today by visiting sectioncut.com.
Yeah, you're talking about like the mammoth scale of it. I believe it's just a little bit over, but from like the Capitol building to the Lincoln is 2 miles in linear, as the crows fly, so linear direction.
Which you could walk, and that is totally doable, right? But it just doesn't feel that satisfying when it's like Capitol to the Washington Monument to Lincoln Monument, right? And they had a couple little things in between, like the Vietnam Memorial and things like that. And now there's just so many more things that it doesn't make it feel like it's so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny is because, well, like I told you, I mean, we park up close to the Capitol building next to the botanical gardens. And you have that. You have the botanical garden. You have all of these like stops. I mean, we're talking only 2 miles, but, 2 miles over the course of that could easily like turn into like a 5-mile stretch when you're like stopping and you're going into all these different like
inside the
places and stuff.
Right.
And but it's great because you have all these opportunities and you really like there is no reason or need for you to try to do like all of it in a day kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And really kind of like do some of like the memorials and the monuments justice by actually kind of engaging with them a little bit more than they normally would.
Yeah, I think it does encourage that kind of lingering, check them out kind of a thing, where before it might have been like, no, we're trying to get down there, so let's just keep going and miss a bunch of stuff.
Just walk.
Yeah,
exactly. No, and that's the and that's the great thing is because you can get to see all of this stuff. I mean that's the one thing that I truly love about being in the area is just being able to. A lot of times I go there and I don't just go there to obviously see the stuff that we want to see, but also kind of like see how other people in the country or from around the world view our nation's capital, in how other people see it. I mean, you see so many people that have so many different opinions and views on it. I mean, some you're going to just jaw drop kind of like, ooh, this is amazing. And then others are going to be like, wow, this is a lot, or too much, whatever. But it's just interesting to kind of see how everybody kind of like interacts with. I won't really call it my adopted city, but it's a city that I live close to, that I visit enough that I've got enough comfort level to call it my area. I can't call it my home, but my area.
And I think you're kind of lucky in that regard that obviously you chose to move there, but they're using architecture as a tool to help tell these stories that they're deciding to tell, right? So
exactly.
Obviously there's a list of stories that they want to tell, and there's some other stories that they maybe don't want to tell, that they're not going to build a building to house that to happen. So the ones that they are telling, though, there's a lot of really interesting stuff there, and there's a lot of interesting things to learn about it, especially like you said, for tourists to come in and see which chapters have been made available for people to kind of go through and see. And it's really interesting, kind of the merging of the two streams of history and architecture, especially, this actually takes me back to my college days when I think was the first time that I heard there are like destination cities like Paris and places like this where they reserved land for a piece of architecture to do a certain thing. And it was like, wow, they don't do that here, right? that was a new concept to me, but what we're talking about is they actually have done that. So
DC was really planned to, they're still expansion opportunities along like the mall and everything else, because it was originally part of the master plan to expand and have these like, constant little new. I mean, that's why like African American Museum is, on the mall side of things and not like, on the opposite side of the street, because like if you think about it, the all of the museums, all the Smithsonian museums are on the opposite side of the road from the actual mall. The
Right.
mall is contained,
Right.
and then there are just like a few little like follies throughout that. But then as you get closer and closer to kind of like the monument areas, they start to kind of like then repopulate the mall
They're
itself.
kind of
And so
intervening in the mall. Yeah.
exactly. But there was always plans for those positions of the mall to really, to house, new museums and stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing's interesting that you said is that, it's the architecture kind of narrates, what's there. Sometimes they try to hide the story, sometimes they try to tell the story. But you start to think about what's interesting about it is, you look at the evolution of the architecture on the mall,
Mm-hmm.
kind of goes hand in hand with the evolution of architecture within our country and how we, look at things differently. I mean, things that are like really kind of ingrained into the like early history of our country are represented in very much a more classic traditional architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you, come closer and closer to modernity, the freedom of the architecture changes from something very more classically represented to something more modern and kind of like a twist on either tradition from the story that they're trying to tell, like the African American Museum, which is just an amazing building,
Mm-hmm.
to like the Native American Museum has got a little bit of tradition, but a whole lot of like more kind of tradition from the different cultures, and kind of like this interesting amalgamation of all these different cultures coming together to represent all the different tribes and all of the different cultures in a architectural manifestation, if
Yeah, it does.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. It is an expression of kind of what's going on inside, and it's not treated as like a generic container.
Right.
And I think what else is interesting is you're talking about this transition of design language and assemblies of parts into the way that they're using them as a tool to tell these stories, where previously it was like, it is this self-encapsulated, only what matters is what's going on inside these buildings, and what's on the outside is not an expression of that. It was two kind of separate things. It's like, I'm going into this institutional building. It looks very important. I guess what's inside is very important, and they're going to tell a story, but it doesn't necessarily link the story to what's happening on the exterior, where now it is, right? And that expression is allowed and enabled to happen. And I think that is pretty successful transition over the last couple of decades for that to happen. I mean, maybe the first place where I saw that there was either with Hayes Edition.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to go there.
And also the Holocaust Museum. Very different than the traditional buildings that were there.
Completely. I mean, you go like, so, I mean, the Pay Edition is a great example, because let's just talk about the buildings in that area. On one side of the street, you've got the National Archives, and then you kind of move across the street, and you're in the courtyard of the Art Museum, and then you've got the original Museum of Art, which houses like all of these more classic works and things like that. And then when you go into Pay's East Wing Edition, the East Wing Edition is dedicated to modern art, and there's no better representation of modern art than through like a modern building that really celebrates light, celebrates openness, celebrates like all of the different ways of like really seeing it. Because you go inside that building, and you go into this massive like double, triple height space with, a Calder, mobile, just, this huge
Enormous, yeah.
Calder just kind of like floating up above that, like sets the stage for like all of the other things that you're going to see within that. And then, this interesting, like, below road transition between the two buildings. You go through this art installation, which is on a moving walkway that you just kind of like then transition it into. If you are familiar with the site, there's a couple of these low glass pyramids, very much like the glass pyramids that Pei did at the Louvre, are now in the courtyard of the old side of
like stitching them together.
And so it kind of stitches them together. And then once you get past that, now you're back into the more traditional building with the traditional art and architecture and things like that. And
I didn't know they were linked underground. That's cool.
Oh yeah, it's you. Yeah, next time you come, which of course
put this on the list. Yeah,
put it on the list. But and you get to actually go down the stairs and you see you pass this Richard Serra installation, and then you kind of go through, and then it takes you through a kind of like very kinetic installation, art installation, but then it takes you into like the food court and all that other stuff, and then it kind of takes you up, transitions you up into the other museum wing, and it's just kind of crazy cool, amazing.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with the way that you're, it is kind of this from the outside, this very different building that pretty successfully bridges the language of architecture from institutional and traditional to modern, because it is very heavy and solid feeling, but the geometry is different on the outside. So they're using the material to link it to the past. And formally, like as the floor plan, if you look at it, right, it's like it's two interlocked triangles kind of from what I remember. So you can't tell that from the outside though. So it is this pretty successful transition from the outside to the inside as you enter in, and you start to see like, okay, the way that he's using the circulation on this site to do that, and using geometry to pull that together, where it's not just like halls with rooms off of hallways, right? It's very much like interlocked open spaces that are kind of triangular in plan, and it's a very different feel. Really successfully done. I felt like it was one of the kind of early buildings for me that really showed me what architecture could be and could do. The way that it leads you through the building, the way that it transitions old to new, the way that it shows off kind of a different sense of art than it's been traditionally presented in that location, as far as art hanging on walls or sculpture gardens, to make it very much like the art and the building are acting as one. It was really fundamental in my formation as an architect.
Yeah, and there's so much going on that obviously you got to like stagger your visits there so that you can kind of see all of these different things.
But that kind of became the model of like the way that it's gone, right? Like that. Yeah. I think was maybe I'm wrong, but if I had to guess, that was one of the really big turning points for museum design in that area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, and if you think about like all of the new museums, they're so very staged. So there's like this whole procession of like activity that you have to do, and the whole design of everything is kind of like built around it. It is very much kind of like followed a model that is, kind of like has its roots back to like say the Guggenheim, where, the intention was, or, even like the High Museum in Atlanta. Yeah. It was like the intention was always, we want you to come in here, experience this big grandiose kind of like this lobby is here for kind of like a gathering of everything. But then we want you to kind of follow a very kind of like almost direct and distinct pattern of movement, so that you can really kind of like enjoy everything. But it really also is something that the architect and the exhibit planners and stuff really wanted to tell you a story, but it's a story that's best narrated by the path that they chose, rather than kind of like this meandering, which we've done
kind of like the Guggenheim, right, in New York.
Exactly. Totally. Exactly. Just like that. because like, there are, say for instance, the East Wing, the pay building. You go in there and you basically kind of can meander through. Now you can grab a program and say, here's like, our suggested ways to do it. But it is really just kind of like experience it the way that you want to experience it,
Yeah, there's not
versus
one
other
path.
ones that are very, very curated on the way that they want to tell that story.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And now even the monuments kind of reflect that as well, right? Where they're very
Yes.
interactive and experiential. They're not just like look upon from afar, right? Which is
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
Washington
yeah.
Monument, right? It's like this landmark. It's this location. Obviously, you can go in it and up it and get this amazing view, which I've never done either, but another thing for the list. But now it's like the
Yep.
MLK Memorial, the Eisenhower, like they encourage you to walk through and experience them from different angles and get different experiences rather than just to look upon the monument.
Well, and I love the fact that now, and I think you noticed this with the Eisenhower, and this seems to be happening in all of the different memorials, is that you can go to that one, and then they've got a QR code. You pull out your phone and basically do a curated audio tour of the space that talks about. What was great is that, like, it talked about the architect's vision. It talked about the vision of the committee that wanted to like create the memorial in the first place, and then it just kind of gives you like this history specifically for the Eisenhower. It kind of gives you a history of the entire life of Eisenhower, because there's it's interesting is, and I wish we would have had an opportunity to go to the FDR memorial. The FDR memorial is kind of like, it's off to the side of on the on the not the reflecting pond, the basically where the basin, tidal basin. Wow. So much for my working knowledge there. it's it's early.
It's over by
I
the
don't
thing.
drink coffee anymore. It's by the thing, near the thing, over by that one thing. You remember?
Past the other thing though.
Yeah, exactly. But the FDR is another one, but it's kind of like it walks through like his life, his presidency, and then his death, but it talks about all the different facets of it, and you can kind of see that within just walking around without having like any kind of audio tour or anything, or having a docent tour,
Mm-hmm.
where that one is kind of like almost immersive and interactive in its own, just by the way that you walk through it, versus like the Eisenhower, which is sort of, it's just like it's all right there, and you
kind of almost
like,
need that augmented reality layer to tell the story.
you sort of do. Yeah.
Well, it was fantastic. It was really cool. I mean, and also just getting to spend a couple of days at the AIA headquarters, which is, it's funny. Like I'm now at the age where maybe the AIA listens to people. It's a disclaimer there. It's interesting. It's definitely, there's a heritage there. I mean, obviously there weren't that many people at the AIA headquarters, but this team that we were working with is so incredibly excited about architecture and architects and what we can do for this nation, but also just what we can do as a profession. That was, it kind of hammers home this idea that if you're an AIA member, like stop looking at it as them, but as us, right? And what can we do? And it's very much where we have to figure this out moving forward together. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to engage? How are we going to incorporate? How are we going to include our membership in that? How deciding how that happens, I think, was pretty refreshing as well to see and spend time with them talking about those ideas. So pretty exciting stuff coming out of that and moving forward. Excited to work with them more to do exactly that. There's a really good group of people that we're working with there. It sounds like there's a lot of people who work at the AIA, but the group that we were meeting with specifically, there's an excitement there that is really, really refreshing. So I'm excited to see where things go, and hopefully I'll get to come back and visit some more and start checking off some more of those amazing experiences with the monuments and the installations there, because there's so much to see and so much to do.
Well, I've just got one thing to say to that. Send gas money.
Yeah. You got it.
No, it's just, yeah, well, you're right. I still need to, spend a little bit more time on the West Coast. But also another thing is, if you guys ever get back out here for any longer length of time, there's obviously, let's do a little bit of DC again, see a little bit more, but then let's also kind of do what is also a great thing about just this area is that the states are clearly smaller, so that, like I was telling you, is in 4 hours, I can be from where I live to Manhattan. And if you take that circle of that 4 hours, so many different places that you can see, and so many different historical events that have shaped the history of this country within that 4 hour radius, both north, south, east, and west.
Mm-hmm.
Not much east, because, then you'll be in the Atlantic, but whatever. But I mean, it's just, it's amazing that you could basically travel to all of the pre-DC capitals of the U.S., in that short radius. There's just so many fun things to do. So encourage everybody to not only encourage Evan to come back, but encourage everybody to kind of get out and experience DC on your own. And if you guys are around, give me a ring. My tour guiding is it's one of the things I find much excitement being able to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I thank you for your service. And I think it's awesome. I mean, I could totally see you in that role in the future.
Yeah.
Cool.
So a little bit further. So obviously I saw that one, the one retired architect who was, a docent at both the Glenstone Museum and also the National Building Museum. But when just before you got into town, we were in Michigan for a long weekend, and we got a chance to go to the Henry Ford and Greenfield Village. So the Henry Ford is a museum that Ford had started way back in the day to kind of collect bits and pieces of Americana and automotive history, as well as the Greenfield Village, which I was kind of explaining to you, which was this kind of historical village where he had either bought, pieces of American history that were in, kind of peril for being destroyed or demoed. And it kind of started with the Wright's bicycle shop and things like that. But as we were going through and we were taking some of these tours, and all of these people are just retired. We met school teachers, we met an architect, we met a bunch of different people who, not only really enjoy history, but also enjoy just the nature of some of these buildings and stuff. And so I could be yeah, I could do this too. I could really see myself doing something nerdy and fun like that in my retirement years.
Well, I think we should talk about that trip on the next episode, because I would love to hear more about that and that whole Greenfield Village area. That would sound
cool. Yeah, totally.
All right, let's do it.
All right, man. Well,
peace out.
Have a great one. We'll talk to you all later.